Good morning, children. Good day to all of you. Children, let us discuss the answers which was given to you in the previous assignment. Now, the first main, fill in the blanks. Removal of fleece along with a layer of skin is called shearing. Process of selecting a parent sheep for obtaining special characteristics in their offsprings is called selective breeding. Air is a poor conductor of heat. Now, if you've written bad conductor of heat, even that you can write. Okay, even that is right. The next one, two examples for each of the following. Animal fibers, wool and silk. Breeds of sheep, Lohi, Rampur, Bushehr. Man-made fibers, nylon, polyester. Camels that yield wool, alpaca and llama. Now, children, you must have seen your mom, your aunt or your grandmother wearing beautiful saris, isn't it? So whenever you go for a function, you see people wearing beautiful clothes there. And you also would have worn beautiful clothes when you go or attend for a function. Now, don't you think the luster and beauty of the sari grabs a lot of attention? Yes or no? Yes? So people start commenting, they say the sari looks very beautiful, it's very pretty. But have you ever wondered what this fabric is? Yes, it is nothing but silk. So now let us understand what silk is and how it is obtained. Now can you tell me the source of silk fiber? Isn't Is it a plant or animal fiber? So silk fibers are animal fibers and silk is obtained from silkworms. And rearing of silkworms for obtaining silk is called sericulture. Children, this is just a small story about how silk was discovered. So silk was first discovered in China. So this happened long time back, maybe in the year 2696 BC. So this idea came to the Empress of China. Her name was called Li Zhu, and she was having tea in her garden. So when she was having tea in her garden, a small cocoon fell into her tea. So soon as the cocoon fell into her tea, she noticed that this cocoon actually had long threads, and that long thread was very soft and it was very strong. Then she discovered how to take out the thread from that cocoon, and she made long threads out of it. Then what did she do? Then she invented the silk loom, the loom where the silk is made. Okay, she invented the place, that silk loom, where she combined all these threads. She weaved all these threads into soft cloth. So Li Zhu had a big forest, and in that big forest she had lot of mulberry trees, and these mulberry trees were the silkworms used to feed on. And this is how she taught the rest of the people in China how to make silk. So this was how silk was first discovered in China, and people even now in China wear silk clothes, and they are very fond of silk clothes. Now look at the picture on the slide, children. You can see two pictures, the two pictures which show you the picture of the silk moth. Now one which is a little small, the other one is bigger. Now the one which is the smaller one is the male silk moth, and the bigger picture is that of the female silk moth. So the male silk moth is usually smaller in size compared to the female silk moth, And the next difference is the male silk moth is very active, whereas the female silk moth is very slow, very sluggish and not very active. And the third main important difference is the antenna of the male moth is much bigger than that of the female silk moth. So the cocoon of these silk moths yield us silk. Now let's begin with the life history of the silk moth. The lifespan of a silkworm is only 2 months. Now the life cycle of this silk moth has 4 stages. Basically it has got 4 stages: the egg, the silkworm, the pupa or cocoon, and the moth. Now the first step is the eggs are laid by the female silk moth. Okay, the first stage. These eggs second stage, these eggs hatch into larvae or silkworms. And this takes about 30 days for the eggs to hatch. So when the eggs hatch, a tiny worm which is white in color hatches, and it is only a quarter inch hatches out of the egg. Now this small tiny silkworm which hatches out of the egg, or this larvae which hatches out, feeds on mulberry leaves, and during this time it eats a lot. It actually devours food. Devours means it eats a lot of food. And during this time it sheds its skin 4 times. Okay, it sheds its skin meaning it molts. It molts, it molts 4 times. Now once it stops eating, what it does is it attaches itself to a branch of a tree or shrub wherever it is growing, and then it will start beginning to spin its cocoon, and from there on the magic begins. Okay, the spinning of the cocoon takes about 8 days. Okay, it takes about 8 days for it to spin that cocoon. So how is this cocoon made? It secretes a gum-like liquid. The silkworm secretes a gum-like liquid which is made of protein, and from this we get the silk fiber. And when this gum-like protein is uh, exposed to air, it starts becoming hard. And once it starts becoming hard, it is nothing but it is the silk fiber. And this silk fiber causes, or this gum-like substance causes the fiber to stick to each other. After this, the silkworm then goes off to sleep for almost 15 to 20 days after it develops a cocoon like covering around itself. Now this stage actually over here is called the pupa stage. P-U-P-A, pupa. This pupa then develops into a young silk moth. Okay, and the silk thread is obtained from the cocoon of the silk moth. Do you understand, children? So from where do we get the silk thread? The silk thread is obtained from the cocoon of the silk moth. Now look at the pictures on the slide, children. It shows you the life history of the silk moth. The first picture there shows you the female silk moth with her eggs. So you know that when she lays her eggs, she lays more than 100 eggs. She can lay a lot of eggs. So once the eggs are laid, then after a few days, the eggs hatch into the larvae or the caterpillar, and the caterpillar are white in color. Usually they are white in color, and they are very small, and they feed on mulberry leaves, and they go on eating. They go on eating for so many days, and then they grow in size, and at a point of time they stop eating, and then you can see the formation of the cocoon. Can you see the cocoon that is formed over there? once they form the cocoon, after few days inside the cocoon, the silkworm slowly starts developing into the moth, and then the moth just breaks open the cocoon and it just comes out. And that last picture there is the picture of the adult silk moth. Now let us talk about the processing of silk. The processing of silk, which involves the rearing of silkworms, and their cocoons are collected to get silk yarns. So there is a procedure that has to be followed to get the silk threads to make it into fabric. Now let's talk about rearing of silkworms. That is, we need to take care of these silkworms to get silk. So first what happens? The silk moth or the female silk moth lays the eggs. And when the female silk moth lays eggs, it usually lays hundreds of eggs at a time. Okay. Now these eggs are stored very carefully on strips of cloth or paper, and then this is sold to the silkworm farmers. Okay. Then the farmers take care of the eggs and they keep the eggs under hygienic condition and under suitable conditions. Okay. Then the eggs are kept at a warm condition for the larvae to hatch out. So the larvae hatches out, and that larvae is called the caterpillar or silkworm. Next, the farmer has to take care of the larvae or the silkworm. So what happens is, now the silkworms are kept in big bamboo trays, and a lot of mulberry leaves are given for them to feed. Now as these caterpillars or the larvae go on eating the mulberry leaves, they grow in size. Okay. So after 30 to 40 days, the silkworms stop eating and they start beginning to spin the cocoons around themselves. Now inside the cocoon, the silkworm starts developing into the silk moth. Now let's talk about processing of silk. Now how we get silk from cocoon. Extracting silk from the cocoon is called processing silk. What is the first step that we do is, the separation of the silk fiber from the cocoon takes place, and how it takes place. That is, we have piles of cocoons, lot of cocoons are kept under the sun or they are boiled. Okay, when they are boiled, what happens? The fibers start to separate because of the heat. Now you can look at that even on the slide. You can see how the fibers are so slowly separating. Otherwise, the fibers are all stuck to each other. Once you start heating it, the fibers start separating out, and it is easy for us to take out the thread from the cocoon. Yes, so during this process, when we start boiling it, the silkworms die inside before the moth is produced. Now the next process involves the unwinding of the fiber from the cocoon. So the threads are slowly removed from the cocoon. You can see that on the slide in the first picture. Okay. So after that, once it is taken, the fibers are taken from the cocoon, the silk thread is bleached and it is dyed into whatever color you want. So any color of your choice, you can bleach it or you can dye it into any color, and then after that the silk fiber is spun into silk thread, which is then woven into silk cloth. So in the slide, in the picture there, you can see how they are weaving the cloth and making it into silk fabric. Now there are 4 types of silk, and we obtain the silk from different types of silkworms. Okay. Now the first one is the very most common one, the mulberry silk. This mulberry silk comes from the silkworm called Bombyx mori, which solely feeds on the leaves of mulberry plant, and these silkworms are completely domesticated and they are reared indoors. Similarly, the next one, Eri silk, these belong to either of two species. Now these are different types of silkworms again, and their names are Samia ricini and Philosamia ricini. These are the two types of silkworm from which we get the Eri silk. Okay. Again, they are also called castor silkworms because they are domesticated. They are domesticated and they are rare and they feed on castor oil plant leaves to produce a white or brick colored red silk, which is popularly known as Eri silk. So the first one is mulberry silk, the second one is Eri silk. Now the next one is tussar silk. The tussar silkworms belong to the genus Antheria and they are all wild silkworms. And the Chinese and Japanese tussar worms feed on oak leaves, oak plant. Have you heard of oak plant? So oak leaves they feed on and other leaves of the same type. So we get tussar silk from this kind of a silkworm. Then the next one is the Maga silk. The Maga silkworms. They are also obtained from another species called Antheria assamanensis, also which belongs to the same genus as the tussar worms. But these worms produce a very unusual golden yellow silk thread, which is very attractive and very strong. Children, let us summarize the lesson. Uh, Points to remember: wool and silk are animal fibers. Wool is obtained from sheep, goat, yak and camels. Silk is obtained from silkworm. Processing of fiber into wool can be represented as follows. This is a very simple method in which you can remember it easily. Shearing, scoring, sorting, cleaning of birds, dyeing, rolling. Next point, what is the meaning of selective breeding? Selective breeding is the process of selecting parents for obtaining special character in their offsprings. Then silkworms are caterpillars of silk moth. During their life cycle, the worms spin cocoons of silk fibers. Silk fibers are made of a protein. Silk fibers from cocoons are separated off and reeled into silk threads. Sorter's disease, this is the disease which is caused to people who work in the sorting industry, where they do the job of sorting the fibers. Here the sorter's job is very risky as they get infected by a bacterium called Bacillus anthracis, and it is also called anthrax. The disease is also called anthrax. So who gets this disease? So this disease is got by the person who sorts the wool of infected animals. Okay. So if the animal is infected and if the person is sorting that wool, then he may contract this disease. So this disease is called sorter's disease, and the other name for this disease is also called anthrax. This is the occupational hazard which the people face in that industry. Now this assignment, try to answer these questions, children. The first main, fill in the blanks. Silkworms secrete fibers made of dash. Silk was first discovered in dash. The silk fiber is obtained from the covering of the silkworm known as dash. Define the following: reeling, sericulture. Match the following: scoring, yield silk fibers, mulberry leaves, wool yielding animal, yak, food of silkworm, cocoon, cleaning, sheared skin. So try to answer these questions and Please write it down in your notebooks. Thank you, children.
Okay, so let's explore some silk moths and silk cocoon. So we have these silk cocoons over here, and you can see that the silk moth has come out of this cocoon over here. So these are the cocoons over here, and this is the silk moth which is outside the cocoon. Let's explore it further. So if we see, then these silk moths, once it comes out of the cocoon, they are very docile. All they will do is to lay a lot of eggs on whatever surface they come across. So they will just keep laying eggs, but otherwise, in terms of flight, they don't cover much distance. They will be quite docile and just stay wherever they are, or just cover very minimal distance over there in the vicinity. So we can see that there are a lot of eggs which they will lay generally, and these eggs will be in tens of eggs laid by each of the silk moth which you see over here. So let's explore a cocoon. So we have this silkworm cocoon over here. See carefully. Just lots of fibers, and all these brownish spot that you see, those are nothing but the eggs. So the silkworm from this cocoon has come out. It has come out making a hole over here. So we can see this hole over here. And once it comes out, it leaves a lot of the eggs over here. Right? So it has left a lot of eggs. So it will generally lay those eggs in the vicinity. So let's see how do these eggs look like if we zoom it. So yeah, you can see the eggs. Yeah. So these are the silkworm eggs, and you now can also very carefully see the silkworm fibers. Right. So yeah, there are a lot of fibers over here. And the amazing thing is this entire cocoon is made up of a single fiber. So if we have expertise, we can take out this entire cocoon, all the thread from the silkworm using some sophisticated instrument. But the thing is, all these things which is there, the fiber, if I try to take out, it is very tricky. But otherwise, it is made up of a very single fiber. So that's how it is. Let's see how it looks under the microscope. So we come under the microscope. This we are seeing it at around 50 times of magnification of the original length, original zoom. So this is how it looks under a microscope. Yeah. So we have these fibers which you can see. It is not very much focused. So let's focus how it looks once we focus it. And you can see this. Okay, so this is, we are encountering an egg under the microscope. You can see this egg which is looking quite big over here. Then there are all these fibers. We can see a lot of other eggs which are coming. So let's explore these fibers. Yes, we can see these very shiny silk fibers which is there on the surface. And then we also have plenty of eggs which are lying near these fibers. So there are a lot of these eggs. Let's just zoom in on one of the egg. So this is how the egg looks at more than 50 times the magnification, the actual length. And yeah, so we have a couple of eggs over here, and this is how the eggs look. Fine. So after all this exploration, we have some interesting questions to ponder. Okay. So why do we need to boil the cocoon to get silk? Can we not just take out the silk without boiling the cocoon such that we end up killing the moth inside? Then is it possible to get a single thread of silkworm from a hatched cocoon? So we saw this cocoon where the moth had come out. Is it possible to get a single thread of silkworm from such cocoon? And if yes or if no, no. So if yes, then how can we get this ahimsa silk? So silk without killing any cocoon. So how is it even possible? So keep wondering about it and do let us know what do you think about it.